Hi.
Hello everyone.
Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hi.
Hey, my name's Abhi.
Hello.
Hi, this is Kaylee. And
hey everyone, this is Kitty.
today we did our reflection on food insecurity.
So a big takeaway I think we should take from the reflection is that
we need to be knowledgeable and have a well-researched background before we start actually doing any volunteer work.
The best work is done with your full self.
When doing service and trying to advocate for something, you should educate yourself on the topic.
we need to stay organized.
We should spread awareness by being better advocates and by being sincere and open about our cause.
It's important to not only want to help with the problem and contribute to the problem, but to contribute in the correct way.
In our investigation, we have learned a lot about food insecurity, especially in Central Georgia, where nearly 17.7% of the population faces hunger.
This means that a lot of people are not getting fed enough food and they're malnourished. Of course, the government tries to help these people. They try to give them food, they try to give them water, they try to just provide for them. But they don't have enough resources. They need almost $40 million extra dollars.
Families are often forced to choose between food, rent, and healthcare, which makes everything much harder.
There are lots of organizations that we can help
Loaves and Fishes Ministry and United Way of Central Georgia.
in order to contribute to solving the problem of food insecurity.
These groups use different strategies. United Way focuses on data-driven impacts, while Loaves and Fishes connects deeply with local communities using faith-based support and personal stories.
They provide food, water, shelter, anything to help these people get off their feet. But it's still not enough, which is why we're here. We're going to help advocate and better spread awareness of food insecurity.
This project has been surprising to me and how much more there is to food insecurity than just hunger. We found out how it impacts health, both physically and mentally, and can cause long-term issues like diabetes, obesity, anxiety, and even depression, especially in children. This definitely motivated us to think about how we can help and advocate for a real change.
One thing I was shocked about was the impact UNICEF had on women specifically and how they strive to empower women, which is something I'd like to mimic in our own project, basically just empowerment. Because while advocating is important, empowerment also shows these people that they deserve to be given the proper nutrition and doesn't make them feel guilty about their financial circumstances.
So some of the things that we learned about advocacy, or specifically that I learned, is that being sincere is really important. A lot of these big companies, they give back to foundations, but they really are backhanded or hypocritical about some of the things that they do. For example, Revlon was a big advocate for breast cancer awareness, but their actual products had carcinogens in them, which, stimulate cancer. So it's kind of hypocritical because they are advocating for such a important cause, but then also promoting it. And then another thing that we learned, I think, is that, I specifically learned, is that some foundations should bring light to the root of the problem, which we want to try and do too. Because some foundations and some organizations, with the same example, like breast cancer awareness, they try to stop what happens after women get breast cancer, if that makes sense. So they don't advocate for preventing cancer by using less supplies with carcinogens. They kind of focus on what happens if a woman gets cancer and to bring awareness, support, etc., which is also good, but I think preventing the root of the problem is also a lot more beneficial because it can prevent people from going through the whole thing.
We also need to focus on finding the roots of the issue and approaching those roots instead of approaching the effects of the roots, because if we're focused on making those who like the breast cancer research, if we're focused on the outcomes and trying to fix the outcomes, we're not going to fix the problem. The problem is coming from the roots, and we need to identify those roots and fight for like advocating prevention of those roots so that it won't be like as drastic and we can avoid it in the long run. And so that also has to do with the core problem, and just knowing that the core problem will be prevented if we focus on the preventions rather than fixing the outcomes. And so that will ultimately lead to a decline in the effects, and the effects won't be as significant.
We can't just focus on the food insecurity and giving people food. We also need to focus on preventing it, taking preventative measures. This means that we need to provide more opportunities for jobs with higher wages and better education for these people. Of course, it might be slow at the beginning, but if we can advocate correctly and push our agenda well enough, it'll succeed, and people in Macon will see a better life. It will set a precedent for our nation, and less people will suffer from food insecurity globally.
So you want to be really like well researched and well understood in the topic, so that way you can make the correct decisions to be able to best help the conflict, which like the roots of a conflict can be different depending on location, like global or local, or whether it's like a political issue or social issue, or like in this case, like hunger, that can stem from many different things depending on the location.
So what that means is that like we shouldn't be focusing on like, you know, looking good or being trendy, or just focusing on like looking good on college transcripts or looking good with community service hours. Those are good things, but when it's your main focus, you're not putting in your full self and putting in like 100% of like your effort. And when you don't put in 100% of your effort, you're limiting the effect you could be having on others, and, you know, limiting what you can do yourself. And it's just really important to remember that, and just to use your talents and gifts. Because like I feel like a lot of people feel like, my talent and gift is so small, you know, it'll never help. But the thing we need to remember is that all like talents and gifts, no matter how small, they do something. It's just, it doesn't have to be like really big and flashy, like, you know, speaking in front of a crowd. Like small gifts do help, and we've seen that happen like just with a lot of stuff. And just I feel like with like the recent years of like social media and stuff, like, you know, like the BLM movement in 2020 and the Me Too movement, there were good causes, but I just feel like a lot of it was like wanting to look cool or trendy or something like that. Because when people posted about it on social media, they like posted these like symbols and pictures, which most people don't really like know. They just kind of threw it out there just because it was trendy.
And also I learned that problems can really vary from region to region and different scales, like local, global, national. And so it's very important that you customize your approach to that way. So like if you're trying to do something nationwide, you approach it much differently than if you're trying to do something on just a local level. And one of the organizations I researched, which I thought had like a really good approach to this, was United Way, because it's a national organization, so it has a lot of resources, but it really emphasizes its focus on local level service and customizing it to each local area that it serves, which, and it, like, for example, it has just a website for just Central Georgia, which I really thought was like a good way to do that.
Because like I feel like communication is critical, because if everyone is not doing what they're supposed to do, or if both two people are doing the same thing and they don't know they're doing the same thing and they do it differently and they set up something, then it's just not going to be successful. We need to be organized. We need to have good communication. We need to have something for everyone to do, something different, so it doesn't overlap and, you know, become like messy. And I also feel like as a group, we should be transparent about where the money's going if we do accept donations. And we should, you know, be knowledgeable about our research and make sure that these donations, and everyone knows these donations, are going to actually help the cause. And we need to make sure we research the cause, because if we don't know what we're solving, then we're not going to be able to solve it.
I also learned that advocacy is good, but there can definitely be pitfalls, such as like doing it just because it's trendy or making assumptions. And I also learned how like sometimes, especially like businesses can exploit the cause and kind of morph into something else. Like when we talked about with breast cancer and the pink ribbon, how it kind of transformed the meaning of it a little. So you have to be really careful when doing advocacy not to do any of these things.
And also, we need to maybe research into bigger organizations that we can work with to maybe have a bigger impact than what we could have if we just worked alone. And also, we need to be flexible. In case something goes wrong, we can't just drop everything and panic. We need to have plans to make sure we can get everything done in an effective and timely manner. And we also need to make sure that our plan to help is really just something that can actually help and isn't just looking good or maybe like selfish and making you look better than like what you actually want to do. And we also need to be transparent about what we do and what we're aiming to do. So if we get any donations, people can understand and maybe help with what we want to do.
So AP Lang has helped with this topic because we have learned how to do a rhetorical analysis essay, and through writing these types of essays and through analyzing these types of essays, we've learned many different ways to get an audience to listen to the speaker. So like by using this information, we can figure out how to best convey our ideas to the audience or to anyone around the world, so that, or in our local community, doesn't matter, so that they want to help with our issue and they can better understand our issue, so it's clearly stated. And this helps us be better advocates, because then once people clearly understand the problem and our solution, they'll be more willing to help better the problem.
In AP Lang, we have learned how to use different rhetorical strategies like emotional appeals and data-driven arguments to make our messages clear and effective. These skills are super helpful when we talk about issues like food insecurity, because we need to explain the problem in a way that connects with people, whether through facts or through powerful stories. The knowledge from our studies, like analyzing text and crafting strong arguments, will definitely guide us as we work on our We Service project to raise awareness and support efforts to end hunger.
And then using some of the skills in the AP Lang course for this project, I feel like when we do Space Cat Me and analyzing context all the time for AP Lang, like you can really apply those skills to this, because you can't really jump into service like without knowing anything about the issue, because then you're just kind of being ignorant. And so you have to analyze the causes of the problem, you have to analyze the point of view of different people who are affected, and you have to just, do it your best, so that's what can actually help. And yeah, and also another thing that we did in AP Lang that I thought this kind of relates to is our word research essay, because like just like that essay, we had to do so much research and cite and synthesize it so we can like look at all the research and then make an argument of what we think is best to help the community and like how you should do service. And so that kind of taught me the skills that we used for this. Yeah.
So how AP Lang is going to help with it is that like a rhetorical writing and evidence-based argument, like that, those skills, I mean, like rhetoric and writing evidence-based argument, I mean, is very important because a lot of it's going to be getting donations, and we have to make sure that we use the evidence and the rhetoric skills to actually get people to donate, because I feel like that's going to be a huge part of how we're going to be successful. And this is actually kind of similar to like using similar skills as like the infomercial we did, where we convinced people to buy like some silly toy, but like now it's to convince people to buy like something important and to donate to a cause. And we need to be transparent about that and making sure people know where their money is going. Another skill that we're probably going to use is synthesis of information of multiple resources. I mean, obviously, yeah, we've already done that. We've done lots of research on different organizations like UNICEF, even local organizations like United Way. And we've compiled all of them to see the most efficient way and who to donate to and the most efficient way to kind of go forward with this project. So yeah, those are I feel like the key points and how we're going to use AP Lang to successfully do this project.
And some of the skills that we've learned in class that can help are like stuff like the rhetorical appeals, like appeal to emotion, appeal to logic, appeal to your credibility. Those can all like help convince an audience to support your cause or to help you directly. And also things like we must have a call to action, like MLK's letter to Birmingham. He called for the white moderates to support his cause and to help. And he didn't just and he actually got them to help. Malcolm X also called for large change. We've also learned how to synthesize sources and information into a well-researched paper, like the Dangerous Word essay, which can help us understand how to cite a source properly and how to use this information. This can really help us have an effective outreach and develop statements that can help convince other people to support our cause.
Another thing that I think we need to focus on is rhetoric. So this being a AP Lang class, I think having a bunch of different tools of trade to spread the message is really important. For example, like exemplification of people who need help, people in need, people who are transformed, that could help spread awareness. Repetition to drill messages and its importance. Analogies in order for the audience to like further grasp and support. I think that's really important because you need to bring the message and spread it so people will be able to support and aid it, and like they know what they are, supporting.
Lang will help us advocate and push our agenda into society better due to the skills it helps us curate. One such skill is a synthesis skill. In AP Lang terms, this basically means that we'll get a source and we need to figure out how to understand it and figure out why the source is written like it is. We'll then use this source as evidence in our own arguments. But in our community service terms, for our project, this means that we can look at other organizations like UNICEF and the Loaves and Fishing Ministry, and we can see what they do, how they do it, and how to improve on it. This will help us better plan and push our agenda into society. Another skill that AP Lang helps us develop are our argumentative skills. A key thing that is vital to our plan is our advocacy. We need to push our agenda not just on the people who are suffering, but on people who will help the people who are suffering. This includes just everyone who is food secure. By creating good argumentative skills, we can help convince the general population that these shortfalls in our society are important enough for them to care and important enough for them to take action and help the people who are food insecure.
So the AP Lang skills that I learned, or that I think will benefit us in our research, is that we know proper ways to research based on our Dangerous Words essay, how we had to research both sides of the word and seeing like the people that were against banning it or the people that were for banning it, and how their arguments attach to their research and how that can attach to our arguments too. And then also we've learned a lot about rhetoric and how to appeal to the audience, especially in our rhetorical situation and analysis part of our unit of the course, and that can help us when we're trying to appeal and advocate to our audience about food insecurity.
And some AP Lang skills that we can use to help us with this project are rhetoric, which can help us to convince people of the cause that we're supporting, and also to convince the College Board of the legitimacy of our actions. And also, AP Lang skills can help to improve our line of reasoning, claims, and evidence for what we were doing in order to make a convincing case for people to support and for the College Board.
I think that AP Lang students are the best choice in operating a service project, specifically because of the rhetoric unit. And rhetoric is defined as a persuasive argument, which I believe can be best done by AP Lang students, and using rhetoric to convince others of the importance of our project. So our issue was food insecurity, which is a both local and global issue. So AP Lang students have the opportunity to advocate for the situation better than most others because of like persuasion techniques like rhetoric, for example. And it also, AP Lang students often have like a higher chance to advocate for others who can't, which I think is also important. So our project to cover the issue will be a fun run, and we'll have an entry fee. So we can invite, like anyone can invite friends or family to participate in the fun run and pay an entry fee and just get involved. And I think the fun run is perfect because it's getting donations, but also getting people involved rather than just like receiving donations, which I think is important, especially for advocating. And I am most passionate and excited about getting people involved and getting people to want to help, because I know that it can be hard to like listen and like want to help, but I think a fun run will like make it a lot easier for people to want to help. And I'm just excited for like the actual fun run because it's getting like everybody together and it's for a good cause, so you can have fun but also help out a lot for others. And one thing that I learned from the investigation is to be transparent with where the donations are going, because you'll receive a lot more donations if people are aware of where their donations are going, and it'll make people want to help more if they know that what they're donating to is for a good cause. So yeah, that's it.